Hello, my yarning friends. I just discovered my flag has a little spot on it, so I have to hold it right here. I need to get a new one. This one's in sort of disrepair because the kids like to play with it. This is my flag I'm flying for 9/11 in remembrance. It's been a pretty somber, prayerful day. And it seems like it's hitting, I don't know, maybe it hits everybody every time this year, but it's hit me harder this year. I don't know, maybe because of Hershers and folks banding together and coming on. And, you know, banding together is a great thing. And that's what we did back when that happened. If you recall, it was horrible, a horrible, horrible tragedy to happen to a country, but we all banded together as a country. Other countries, you know, were supportive of us, and so that part was a good part and good to remember. So I did decide to go ahead with the reading. I'm leaving the lights off in remembrance too. So, and even got new batteries. It would have been bright. Anyway, I'm fine. And some of you, if you know, it's just, I thought it was the best thing to do. I'm sure I'm not feeling any different than a lot of you guys feel. Americans, and even if you're not an American. Like I said, a lot of you guys supported us during that time. But yes, I have prayed a lot today. I've been in prayer a lot today for the family, friends. Of course, the victims, they're fine, but sad, sad, sad. But the families, you know. So, let's smile a little bit. It's been a somber day. Let's smile a little bit. And we're not going to forget, you know, tomorrow when we go about things. And someone said, yeah, fly your flag today, fly it yet tomorrow. And that's true. We don't need to just remember one day of the year. But, whew, here's that. It's just going to start. But, anyway, tomorrow we can kind of be a little more cheerful. I will always pray for those families. I tell you, I just don't know. Just don't know. This is for the juniors, girls. And I got a sweet story to tell you about our Captain Junior, Katarina, Miss Linda Jean House. She says I'm co-grannying. I don't think she said it that way, but co-granny with her. She said now that I've got a playlist, she'll just get in her little car seat, put her little headphones on, and she said I even beat out Paw Patrols. What? That little child's going to grow up to be a teacher, librarian, something, I bet you. So, Katarina and all the other little juniors and my seniors that like to listen, was it Kimber Ann, I think it was, said it reminded her of her childhood days. And I know these are different versions of the stories, kind of all Mod Podge together like that last one was. But that's kind of cool, isn't it? And I like it with, I believe it was Linda who said, you know, a lot of the, and because they were fairy tales and, you know, folk tales that are handed down orally just by telling them. I wish I would, I've always wanted to be a storyteller. We had a wonderful storyteller, Jackie Torrance. I don't know whether you've ever heard of her. I've spoken of her. That's where I got my little baby of color over there from her estate sale. I know I told you that too, but Oh, man, if you've never heard, she's gone now. She's been passed for a number of years, but she was amazing. She was a lady of color, very big lady, and she was disabled or challenged, whatever. She's riding a scooter like I do now when I can, but she was in, her own personal. I even went to her house one time because I couldn't find any of her cassettes. We were using cassettes back then, and I was reading her, or playing her cassettes for my kids. I couldn't about to. When I taught middle school, boy, am I squirreling all over the place. When I taught middle school, she lived in Granite Quarry, just one little town up, and she was like, not world renowned maybe, but nationally known for sure, and maybe in more, I can't imagine she wasn't known in other countries too. She was amazing. Jackie, Jickie Torrance, Torrence. See if your library has any of her cassettes. Amazing. If I can find, I don't have anything to play cassettes on. I should have her things still, but golly gosh, where they are, I don't know. But I got her to come to the middle school one year. It was like a culminating reading event of some sort. So she came to our gym. She got $1,000 an hour. That a long time ago. But I heard that when she died, she was pretty much penniless because of family members that went through it or something. Just very sad. But yeah, I went to her house, and she had a lovely home. But she was basically living in one room. And, I wanted to help her out by buying some of her, because I'm sure I gave her a donation or something. But she didn't have not one tape, didn't know how to get any. But we had a nice visit, and I think I even went back. But I'll never forget Miss Jackie. What made me think of that? Oh, storyteller. Yeah, she was amazing. Okay, this is called Little One Eye, Two Eyes, and Three Eyes. Once upon a time, there lived a woman who had 3 daughters. The eldest was called One Eye because she only had one eye in the middle of her forehead. Maybe I need one right here. The second was called Two Eyes because she had 2 eyes like other people. 3 eyes, guess why? Because she had 3 eyes, 2 like other folks, but her third eye was right up here. Because little 2 eyes looked just like other people, her sisters and her mother could not endure her. They said to her, "You with your 2 eyes are no better than the common people." They were just jealous, weren't they? "You do not belong to us." They pushed her about, threw her old clothes to her, gave her to eat only what was left from their meals, and did everything possible to make her unhappy. Does that sound kind of like Cinderella? One day, 2 Eyes had to go into the fields to watch the goat. She was very hungry because her sisters had given her so little to eat. She sat down on a hillock and began to weep bitterly. Suddenly, a woman stood beside her who said, "Why are you weeping, little 2 Eyes?" 2 Eyes answered, "Because I have 2 eyes like other people. My sisters and mothers do not love me. They push me from one corner to another and throw old clothes at me and give me to eat only the scraps they leave. Today they have given me so little that I am still very hungry." Then the wise old woman said, "Wipe away your tears, little 2 Eyes. After this, when you are hungry, say, 'Little goat, bleat, little table, appear.' And then a little well-spread table will stand before you with the most delicious food on it that you may wish to eat. When you have had enough, just say, 'Little goat, bleat, little table, away.'" Sounds kind of like the cloth and the lad who went to the north wind. Then it will disappear from your sight." With that, the wise woman vanished. Little 2 Eyes thought, "I must try this at once and see if what she said will happen, for I am indeed very hungry. So she said, little goat, bleat. And y'all know that will make the little table appear. Scarcely had she spoken the words when a little table covered with a white cloth stood there. On it were a silver knife and fork and spoon and a plate of the most delicious food, smoking hot. Little Two Eyes began to eat at once and enjoyed it very much. When she had had enough, she said, as the wise woman had told her, little goat, bleat, little table, away. In an instant, the little table and all that stood on it had disappeared again. What a delightful way of keeping house, said she. Wouldn't it be nice if we could do that? In the evening, when she went home with her goat, she found a small earthenware dish with something to eat, which her sisters had left for her, but she did not touch it. Next day, again, she went out with her goat, but the few crusts of bread which had been given her, she left untouched. The first and second time that she did this, her sisters didn't notice, but as it happened every time, they soon did observe it and said, there's something wrong about Two Eyes. She always leaves her food untasted, and she used to eat up everything that was given to her. She must have found other ways of getting food. In order that they might learn the truth, they decided to send One Eye with Two Eyes when she went to drive her goat into the pasture the next day. So when Two Eyes started out the next morning, little One Eye said, I will go with you to the pasture today and see that the goat is well taken care of. Little Two Eyes knew what was in One Eye's mind. After they had driven the goat into the long grass, she said, come, little One Eye, sit down. You must be tired after your long walk. I will sing to you. One Eye sat down, and Two Eyes sang to her. What do you think's going to happen? Let's see. Are you awake, little One Eye? Are you asleep, little One Eye? Awake, asleep, awake, asleep. Presently, One Eye closed her one eye and fell fast asleep. Then little Two Eyes said softly, little goat, bleat, little table, appear. She then seated herself at the table, and when she had finished, she said, little goat, bleat, little table, away. And in a second, all was gone. Two Eyes now awakened little One Eye and said, oh, little One Eye, you started out to watch the goat, and you fell asleep. In the meantime, the goat could have run all over the world. Come, let us go home. When they reached home, Two Eyes again left her food untouched, and One Eye could only say that she had fallen asleep and did not see what had happened. Next day, the mother said, Three Eyes, today you shall go and watch if Two Eyes eats anything when she is out, and if anyone gives her food and drink, because she must eat and drink in secret. So Three Eyes went to Two Eyes and said, I will go with you in the pasture and see if the goat is taken well care of. But Two Eyes knew what was in little Three Eyes' mind. When they had driven the goat into the long grass, she, as before, said, Here, little Three Eyes, we will sit down and I will sing something to you. Three Eyes was very glad to sit down, as she was tired from the walk and the heat of the sun. Two Eyes began the same song and sang, Are you awake, little Three Eyes? But instead of singing, Are you asleep, little Three Eyes? She thoughtlessly sang, Are you asleep, little Two Eyes? All the time she sang, Are you awake, little Three Eyes? Are you asleep, little Two Eyes? So the Two Eyes of Three Eyes fell fast asleep, but the third eye did not go to sleep because it was not mentioned in the song. Little Three Eyes, to be sure, shut it and made believe to go to sleep, but only through slyness, for she winked it and could see everything quite well. When Two Eyes thought that Three Eyes was fast asleep, she said softly, Little goat, bleat, little table, appear. And then she ate and drank as much as she wished and said, Little goat, bleat, little table, away. Then Two Eyes said to Three Eyes, "Have you been asleep, Three Eyes? You came with me to watch the goat. What a good caretaker you are. Come, we'll go home." When they reached home, Two Eyes again did not eat. Three Eyes said, "Now I know why that haughty creature does not eat. When she is in the pasture, she says to the goat, 'Little goat, bleat, little table, appear.' Then a little table stands before her covered with the choicest food. When she has eaten all she wishes, she says, 'Little goat, bleat, little table, away,' and it all disappears. I watched everything. She put two of my eyes asleep by using a charm, but my third eye luckily kept awake." Then the cruel mother said, "She shall not fare better than we are." So she went out and killed the goat. When Two Eyes saw what had happened, she went out into the pasture and, sitting down, cried bitterly. Suddenly the wise woman stood beside her and said, "Little Two Eyes, why are you weeping?" "Oh," said Little Two Eyes, "the little goat has been killed, and now I shall again be hungry and thirsty." Then the wise woman said, "Little Two Eyes, ask your sisters for the heart of your goat. Then bury it in front of the house, and your fortune will be made." At this she disappeared. Two Eyes went home and said to her sisters, "Sisters, will you give me the heart of the goat? That is all I ask." They laughed and said, "If that's all you want, you may have it." Two Eyes took the heart and buried it that evening in front of the house, as the wise woman had told her. Next morning, when they all awoke and went to the house door, there stood a strange and wonderful tree with leaves of silver and fruit of gold hanging among them. In all the world there was nothing more beautiful or precious. The sisters or mother did not know how the tree could have grown during the night, but Little Two Eyes knew it had grown from the heart of the goat. Then the mother said to One Eye, "Climb up, my child, and gather some fruit from the tree for us." Little One Eye climbed up, but when she wanted to seize a golden apple, the branch sprang out of her hand. This happened every time, so that she could not gather even a single apple, though she tried as hard as she could. Then the mother said, "Three Eyes, do you climb up? You can see better with your three eyes than One Eye can." One Eye scrambled down and Three Eyes climbed up, but she could not do a bit better than One Eye. The golden apples always sprang back from her grasp. At last the mother grew impatient and climbed up herself, but she could not gather the fruit any better than One Eye or Three Eyes. Then Two Eyes said, "I will go up myself, and perhaps I shall do better." "You," said the sisters, "with your two eyes, what can you do?" But Two Eyes climbed up, and the golden apples did not spring away from her, but dropped into her hand, so that she could gather one after another, and brought down a whole apron full. Her mother took them from her, and instead of treating poor Two Eyes any better for this, she and One Eye and Three Eyes were only envious because Two Eyes alone had been able to get the fruit, and so they treated her still more cruelly. One day, as they were standing in front of the house looking at the tree, the prince came riding by. "Quick, Two Eyes," said the two sisters, "creep under this barrel and do not disgrace us." Then they hurriedly turned an empty barrel which was standing close by the tree over her, and pushed the golden apples which she had gathered under it too. When the prince came up to the tree, he said, "To whom does this beautiful tree belong? If anyone gives me a branch of it, I will in return grant whatever they may ask." Then One Eye and Three Eyes said that the tree was theirs, and they would break off a branch for him. They both tried very hard, but it was of no use, for the branches and the fruit always sprang back every time. Then the prince said, "It's strange that the tree should belong to you, and you're not able to break off a branch." But again they insisted that the tree was theirs. While they were saying so, Two Eyes rolled out a few golden apples from under the barrel to the feet of the prince. for she was vexed at the others for not speaking the truth. When the prince saw the apples, he was astonished and asked from where they had come. One Eye and Three Eyes said they had another sister who was not allowed to show herself because she had 2 eyes, like other people. But the prince wanted to see her and said, "Two Eyes, come forth." Then Two Eyes came from beneath the barrel, and the prince was amazed at her great beauty and said, "Two Eyes, can you break off a branch from the tree for me?" "Yes," replied Two Eyes, "I shall be able to because the tree belongs to me." She then climbed up and with the greatest of ease broke off a branch of beautiful silver leaves and golden fruit and handed it to the prince. Then the prince said, "Two Eyes, what shall I give you in return for this?" "Alas," said Two Eyes, "I suffer from hunger, thirst, grief, and want all the day long. If you would only take me away with you, I should be very happy." So the prince lifted Two Eyes onto his horse and took her to his father's palace. There she was given beautiful clothes to wear, had plenty to eat and drink, but best of all, the prince loved her and married her, and their wedding took place with great rejoicing. When Two Eyes was carried away by the prince, her 2 sisters were jealous, but they said, "The wonderful tree will remain here, and even though we cannot gather the fruit, people will come and admire it, and who can tell what good fortune will come to us?" But next morning, when they awakened, the tree had vanished. When Two Eyes looked out of the window in the palace, the tree was growing in front of it. Two Eyes lived a long time in happiness. One day, 2 poor women dressed in rags came to her palace begging for alms. She looked in their faces and recognized her sisters, One Eye and Three Eyes. They had fallen into such poverty that they had to beg their bread from door to door. Two Eyes, however, made them welcome and was kind to them and took care of them. So they both, with all their hearts, were sorry for their evil that they had done their sister in their youth. Isn't that nice? That the sisters actually were not evil anymore, I guess you'd say, right? They were sorry for the evil they had done their sister with all their hearts. So a good story. So next time we'll be reading Boots and His Brothers. Boots and His Brothers. Okay, little squirrels and big squirrels too. I don't know if I finished my thought about Kimber Ann saying that it reminded her of her wonderful childhood when she read these. I squirrel something awful. And I may have said it. I don't know. Be sweet, my lovelies. Good night.